Good evening, guys. I've been banging out these videos recently, and it's probably because I'm just excited to play with the Revo that I just built. But um, I basically crossed about a gallon of fuel. I made 3 batches, more or less, so that's 6 quarts, and I've ran through. Um, I'm in the middle of my third batch, so that's well over a gallon of fuel there. I've been lucky to have the time to play um, after work and on the weekends. We had some good weather, and then we got rain yesterday, but today it dried up and offered a really nice um, backyard for traction and stuff. It wasn't too dusty or anything. Um, but yeah, so this is the first thing. So this plug right here is what I ran basically majority of my fuel with, which is, I don't know, an N4 plug. It's not an OS plug, but I think it's a Dynamite plug, honestly. I believe the new Dynamites come with a plug that says N something on it, but you can see that it's pretty nice. Let me see if I got this right here. Yep. So no real, nice clean burn pattern. The element is slightly deformed, but I have no idea how much gas is in this. It wasn't new when I put it in. And it's still running. It's still good. I just decided to swap it to see what the OS plug would do. The number 8. This is a number 8. And with my surprise, the engine ran cooler, and it felt like it had a little bit more torque. So it ran cooler. I was like more in the upper 200 range, so 290, 300 instead of like 310, 320 with this one. So that was interesting. So the OS plug definitely is the winner, but both were ran good. So it's not like this one was bad or anything like that. But not touching the tune or anything. The OS plug dropped temp a little bit. You'll see with I'll be uploading a video here of tonight's little rip. It definitely seems like as it's wearing in, there's a little bit more power. It felt like it had more torque today, but that might be because of the plug or the weather, and or it being nice and wet, so there was good traction. It wasn't sliding anywhere. But yeah, so anyways, let's take it apart. So first thing I notice is that there's quite a bit of dirt underneath the crankcase. That suggests that the front bearing might be leaking a little bit. I'll also say that the last couple tanks, the engine was acting a little odd. It would, and you might see this in the video too, sometimes coming off idle or off a wide open throttle pass and then shutting off the gas, it would just like bog and it wouldn't come back up when you get back on the gas. It was like super rich, the low got opened by like 2 turns. So I'm not, and then it would kind of like come back with me just letting it idle. So that was odd to me. And then it started to have a little bit of a higher idle after some pulls. So this front bearing came out of my spare stuff. It wasn't a new bearing. It probably was on a race 21 at some point, and it was the nicest one that I could find in my used stuff. So if it made a gallon, I'd be happy with that. Most likely going to be swapping that one out just because there is some dirt there, and there's dirt on the chassis of the truck. So that's your first indication that your front bearing might be leaking, on top of the inconsistent like tune or something odd that the engine wasn't doing prior. and so I have those signs, and I'm gonna be taking the precautions. I'm honestly very surprised with how hard I've been beating on this thing. I'm surprised that it's in one piece still. So yeah, I got to give it props. The Revo, oh yeah, so look at this. So this bearing is done. And then this one too, most likely. Yeah, this one. This one's probably gonna be replaced. I definitely put some hard run in that. That's a gallon worth of fuel, so it's the Revo makes it insanely easy to just go full out, and if you know how to fly a truck and just a little bit of throttle control and brake control, you can really stay in the RPMs and let this thing eat. So that's kind of what I've been doing. The Revo just makes it a lot easier to do that than the T-Max, just because the Revo will absorb everything. The Revo just eats up everything in its path, and that's it's super cool. I've missed that. The T-Max, you have to be, it's a more sensitive chassis, and you really do have to be a little bit more attentive with your driving than the Revo. The Revo also has a much lower center of gravity, so that helps a lot. And you're more ballsy when the chassis is stronger, so it'll take a lot more of a beating. But yeah, this motor definitely has plenty of power. It has plenty of power to push the truck around, especially in the grass. Yeah, so you guys can see this right here. That is definitely interesting. Yeah. So yeah, it's important to catch these things where you start noticing some weird attribute that the engine wasn't doing before. And if it's a tune, if it's a carburetor or a tune thing, like I was giving gas and it wasn't going anywhere, but it was idling and it felt like it was just overly rich. Most likely it was just breathing in too much air and it was actually overly lean, but it didn't sound lean. It was it was just what it is. But it's not worth pushing through it and ignoring it, because if you do, the motor will just it's gonna suck up dirt and stuff, and then you wonder why you have a piston and sleeve that is all dirty or scratched up or whatever. I'm gonna try to be careful with this. So this is I burned through one pull start. That was my initial pull start, and that was, oh shit, this is gonna come out, and that was because I was not paying attention. Let's see if this thing's gonna come out on its own. Yes. I hope. Alright, that's definitely one of my first time doing that with one like this. I'm gonna try to find some tape and I'll be right back. Alright, so I got some tape on this, just some painter's tape, masking tape. For first thing I noticed, pulling the back plate off for the first time, I see quite a bit of dark oil residue around, so I'm not sure what to think about that. Hopefully that has nothing to do with internal wear, but I'm gonna clean this up real quick before I open it up, and I'll be right back with you guys. Alright, cleaned it up a little bit, get some dirt away from the thing. Alright, so let's see what happens. Oh, it's surprising, this thing is lighter and smaller than a TRX 2.5. The footprint, like the overall size of the case and head and all of that. But yeah, this motor idles super consistently. I didn't have to touch any needles tonight. The needles just stay and the motor just goes. Hopefully there's nothing crazy in here. That's going to be hard because there's RTV. Okay. So that's the crank pin. Ooh, that's nice and oily. That's nice. Good oil. Lots of oil. This thing, I let it pretty much ran empty, so that's, what is this here? Okay. Looks like that O-ring right here got smashed. Right here. Yeah, there's not much of a groove for it to catch on, but RTV might easily fix that. So, no real wear that I can tell here. Super tight on the pin still. Lots of oil there. There's a little bit of coloring here. That's just, okay, that's coming off. That's just surface rust, or I don't even know what, but these are my washers. They're still in good shape. Yep. This right here does not, it shows a little bit of, right, you can tell that that's the side that the crank was on, but there's not actual wear. Like, I can't feel it, so that means my washers aren't pushing it too far in. This is nice and tight still, so that's a good, let's say that's a good win right there. I'll put this stuff back. Nice and smooth operation. Yep, one way is nice and smooth. All right. Oh yeah, look at that. Nice oil. See, that's kind of why I like to run it. Dang, look at that. Whew. Yep, nice and red. Beautiful. Yep, 12.5% right there. That's what I like to see. Less than that, and there's not enough oil in my head. But hey, I've run all the way down to 6% or 7%, and yeah, I didn't burn a motor, but it's dry, you know. I've ran and I've tested every percentages all the way up to 15%, and the happy medium for the amount of oil that you find in your motor and performance and crispiness, I find this particular percentage to be like really good medium for longevity of a motor and the tunability and all of that. So I'm glad that I can just pull this right out. Let's see. I'll pull this out right here, and then take this out. I know this one. Well, here's the top of the piston. It's the top of the piston right there. Nice and clean. Zero signs of detonation. Beautiful. Alright. I must say, before I took this out, I checked the play with the flywheel, and there wasn't a lot of play, but there was a slight bit of play that wasn't there before. And this is really critiquing it, but here's the head button. Head button still looks beautiful. 300 something degrees for all weekend, just ripping the backyard. Alright, so here's the sleeve, literally right out. You're seeing it first time as I am. Beautiful. I just love this oil. So clean. It cleans itself pretty much. That's what I like about the synthetic. There's no wear in the sleeve. The chrome looks great. There's no dirt that's made its way in. You can see there's a little bit of gold coloring. That would be the castor that I add into my mix. This is the exhaust side, so there is a little bit of color separation, I guess, on this side, which is nice. This is beautiful. You can see the oil grooves are nice and clean. That is something that I really look for. Not all oils do that, so you got to be careful. The more castor you have, the more chance you'll see some deposit in those, but you really want those clear all the time, and the synthetic oil helps keep that clean. So yeah, dang, that's awesome. This is underneath. Is there any play here? I don't feel any play. There's side to side play. I don't have any wiggle at all. This is absolutely super tight. Okay. Can still see through that. That's probably just oil. Alright. Just wipe it right off. So obviously you guys can see how clean this is. There's no burn marks. There's no real indication that this piston has overheated at all. And that's why we can't really tune with using temperature. We have to be able to tune using our ears and the smoke trail. But if you have really clean burning oil, your smoke trail might not be much. So it's not, the smoke trail is, it's really the sound. You got to be able to hear the engine scream. Alright. Alright, so yep, this is super clear. That was definitely the that was just some oil residue. Let's see where the pinch is at. Alright, so the pinch is over here. The pinch definitely has gone up, so it's most likely at this point it's fully broken in. And like I was saying, I felt like this thing was making a little bit more power. It felt like it was a little bit more torquey, so maybe it just needed a little bit of help here. A couple more tanks of fuel. Maybe at the 2 gallon mark it wasn't fully broken in, maybe, but ooh, okay, this goes up a lot more now. Okay, so it's up at this point now. Yeah, so it definitely dang. Now this is definitely more like I remember the Traxxas, the TRX are up like that. So let's see, and we will compare with the other video where we're at now. This is 1.27, 1.32, 1.28, 1.28. All right, so it might stay there for a long time. If it's fully broken in now and that's where it wants to be, then I'm cool with that. We'll find out. I'll just get this repinched at Ray Racing when the time comes. You know, running these things is so hard. I'm like riding these things like it's you know, the big block 21s and other motors. We have to remember this is also Chinese or Taiwanese, so we can't really expect too much, but it's still impressive nonetheless. I ran that Traxxas to 3.3. It was higher than this for 6 gallons. So once it's set, it kind of stays there for a good while. All right, so here's the crank. Crank had a lot of nice oil on it. There's nothing extra here. It looks pretty much like how I took it out. Let's measure the crank pin. Yeah, 3.95, 3.92, 3.92, 3.92, 3.93, 3.93. Okay. I believe that's 3.95. 3.93. Okay. Yeah. No, that's not bad. 3.95. Depends where you check it. Yeah. Okay. Let's put this on here and check it. Oh, that's pretty good. Okay. Yep, still pretty tight. So this rod has 3 gallons on it now, right? Everything has 3 gallons on it, and I don't see, like, there's a little bit of play here, but this is still insanely tight. Can't really wiggle it. There's no play there. Maybe a slight play, not much. With the oil between, there ain't no play. Yep. Okay. Cool. That's pretty impressive. I mean, I don't think I've ran any Traxxas motor as hard as I ran this in the Revo here in the backyard. And I haven't had the opportunity, you know, having a backyard like this gives me the real opportunity to beat the shit out of these things, but it's just fun. So you guys can see that nice oil. Smells good too. Dang, that's beautiful. All right. Yeah, let's see here. This bearing still feels really solid. Super strong. Ooh, yeah. That bearing still feels good. This is a fast eddy bearing, by the way. Yeah, I don't know about this one. This front bearing might need to go. This back bearing feels really solid still. There's no play in that thing. 0. It's super smooth. Wow. Okay. Yep, carb still is nice. Super smooth carb. Alright, I'm gonna stop this. You guys saw how clean this is, and I'll probably put this back together. Yep. It's very nice. Yeah. Like always, I appreciate you guys watching. I'll finish this video up with it being put back together at some point. So, hey guys, this is 2 days after disassembly of the engine, and now I'm going to be reassembling it. I guess within the time of disassembly and now, I put in a Novorossi front bearing. This is a used bearing, but back in the day, this particular bearing was very sought after. It's got a little bit longer neck over here. It's a 6.3. So we'll see. It's what I had on the second runner up. So we'll see how that goes. I didn't do anything with the back bearing, and I didn't take it out because it feels really good. Something that I want to touch on that I did some research on a couple days ago is I made a video of Traxxas carb and how to build it, and I suggested to use this type of grease. This particular grease is great for like metal on metal or metal with plastic, because it's a lithium base, NLGI2, and apparently that's really important. It's not the best grease to use with O-rings. So with doing that research, I learned that silicone based grease is the better solution when it comes to O-rings and anything related to greasing or lubricating rubber seals and things. So this is silicone lubricating grease by Superlube, and it also has PTFE in it, which is syncolon. So that particular additive or ingredient basically fills the little tiny microscopic gaps within the O-ring to help provide a better seal. This particular grease is also a better solution for plastic on plastic parts like transmission gears and things like that. When I took apart my transmission to fix that pin that snapped off, this particular grease already hardened and isn't doing much. And I also read that lithium-based grease can potentially damage plastic gears. I think this one is safe for plastic, but regardless, it's not the best solution. This is a do it all, it seems like. It's a very thick grease, and so it's easy to apply, and I'm going to try it on the transmission as well. I already pulled the needles out and applied this grease on. They were already pretty dry, and I had put this on initially, so hopefully this will last a little longer. It should definitely keep the O-rings a little bit more happy and won't dry out as quick. Temperature range is also much better. It goes all the way from -40 Fahrenheit to 500 Fahrenheit, so it won't lose its properties. This one works, but not as high of a temperature. So again, this is really good for metal on metal stuff. So diffs, pinion gears, and things like that. This is what I suggest. But moving on to this, the front bearing has been replaced. I will be ordering bearings in the near future for all sorts of different engines and things. I just have to make a list, but what I really want to show you guys is this. I'm quite happy with this. I did do some Dremel work to this particular crank, and this is the one that came out of it. I basically just, you know, cleaned up the outer edges, and I also port matched it to the case up in the front here. So if I put two side by side, the one on my left is a completely stock one, not touched, and then the one on the right is the one that I just modified. I will also state that there is no timing change to this. I simply just took the material away from over here. So you can see this material right here. I just kind of cleaned that up, made it more of a straight shot down. So as it, you know, turns and the window closes, it's a nice sharp close. So yeah, I did not do anything over here. Like I mentioned, I did do some work on the Traxxas 2.5 crank last time, and I'm not sure if that really helped or not. So I just wanted to do this, and it did open up the port by 1 millimeter left to right, and then by 0.5 millimeter from front to back. This one doesn't really have that much material to take off. If I have any better photos, if the video doesn't come out that great, I will put some pictures up. I think I took some. I also polished the inside, so just took a rubber polishing wheel and just went right inside, and it kind of cleaned up a lot of the impurities, I guess, or weird ripples from manufacturing. So excited to see how that's going to run. We're going to put it in. I didn't put any oil, so don't judge me too much. Forget about that. But this is smooth. So I don't know if I just mentioned it or not, but the high is at a little bit more than 4.5 from closed, and surprisingly the low is very similar. The low is at 4.5, and then my idle gap is right here. Hopefully it catches that, but that's pretty much where it is. Yeah, so. I hope everyone's having a great day. We're supposed to get a lot of rain this coming next couple days, which isn't going to be great, but there's too much water here. Very tight to get this in. It's fully pushed in. All right, there it goes. Got to get it in an angle. I don't like using little needle nose pliers or anything like that, so I just there we go. There's good oil on that. I did not do anything on the sleeve. I don't know like the flow mods and whatnot. If you take material off of the sleeve, basically you're adding volume to the case, and that takes compression away. And it makes the motor less responsive. It might be a little bit better up top, but it makes the engine less responsive on the bottom end. And for heavy trucks, you kind of want that responsiveness and that you know, that torque, I guess, if you will. So when you start cutting material off of the sleeve, you know, you really start losing the little torque that the motor makes, and it takes more fuel too, so it becomes a little bit more of a gas hog. But yeah, I don't know what. I guess the crank mod that I did to this one, it didn't really take more fuel. It still was doing more than 10-minute tanks, so yeah. So, all right, now we put this thing in. I'm not re-RTVing it. As you can see, the RTV is still there, and the spots that, the high spots, I guess, if you will, are still there. So I'm going to say that that's going to be good. I also want to use the same spot that the pin was on, because it's already worn on that side. So there's no need to really. There it goes. There's no need to wear the other side if you've already worn one side. So here as well, when you're tightening the bolts, you want to, you know, kind of add equal pressure all the way around. You don't want to torque one and then torque another. You want to try to add equal pressure to each bolt until, you know, there is no more, until they're all tight, basically. So that's done. This is the old bearing that came out. I don't think you can hear it right now, but sometimes you have to put WD-40 for them to really show their. But it kind of skips. It's hard to hear it on this one, so it's not completely bad, but it's pretty loose, like this way, back and forth. So that's not good. But yeah, it skips a little bit. You can feel it and you can hear it, but I don't think it'll pick it up. Alright. So when you put the head on, if you aren't sure how to put it on, you'll notice majority of heads will have vanes cut out for airflow. And like here, you can see the vanes on either end here, but you can't see the vanes over here on this end. So there's no vanes over here, right? There's no vanes or air space for it to flow through, but there is over here. You can see right here, like that's a vane, right? So you want to put the head in orientation where the airflow will be able to go out, because you'll get better cooling that way. So you know, that's, if you have any trouble knowing how to put a head back on, or the orientation, you know, that's the first thing to kind of keep an eye on, is where the vanes are, and then from there, that'll, you know, really give you a good idea of how to put the head on. There's also a unique pattern on most cases where the head will only go on maybe 2 different ways. But yeah, you definitely want to try to get the veins where the airflow can just come in and come out. Another thing to talk about is the clutch bell bearings. The clutch bell bearings don't last forever, and they do take a lot of abuse, so it's important to pull the motor out every few gallons and inspect those bearings, because those bearings, if they're not, you know, running right, or if they're bad or seized up, you'll have erratic idling, and you know, your motor might stall randomly. So you really want to make sure, you know, you keep an eye on that. So this motor has so much compression that I can't even spin it with my fingers. Like, yes, the pinch is a little high, you know, compared to before, but the seal and compression is just crazy. I just got it, but dang. Obviously with the flywheel it's going to be a lot easier, but you also want to keep an eye on your clutch, right? The clutch spring especially. You know, you just pull it apart, and I'm going to have to throw some denatured alcohol on this before I put it on. It also has to be dry, but yeah, that's a good way to see if your spring is, you know, is going bad, is by just pulling them apart a little bit, and there should be some good tension there. But yeah, I'm gonna finish this video off right here. I just wanted to show you guys the disassembly and, you know, reassembly of this Dynamite that we're using as a R&D project in the Revo, and I'll put this back together. The bearings that came out of the clutch bell were absolutely annihilated. This was just 1 gallon. This one is pretty much, you know, disintegrated, and this one is about there. So I'm not really using clutch bell specific bearings, which I will be ordering as well. I've just been using, you know, whatever I'm pulling off of used trucks and stuff, and these come out of the transmission. It's the right size, but they're probably not the best for the clutch, but you definitely want to get some good solid quality bearings for the clutch bell. That'll, you know, help a lot when it comes to your engine running smooth and your clutch running right. So I hope you guys enjoyed. I think my next video will be pulling this one apart. I got 1.5 gallons on this 2.5. I did have some odd things during the last couple tanks, or yeah, last I'd say session out, and that's why it has a silver head on it right now. But it turned out to be this pipe that, you know, essentially had the a piece of the chamber that just snapped off, so it was just dangling in there, and I think that's what was causing all my tuning issues and power issues or whatever. So anyways, I'll see you guys later. Alright, one last thing that I figured might be important to mention. So with this front bearing on, before disassembly, the flywheel had a little bit of play, probably like maybe 0.1 of a millimeter play, but there's still play. You could, you know, move it back and forth a little bit. This one, with the Novorossi bearing, or I guess a front replacement bearing, there is absolutely no play. So that's a good indication that there is actually an improvement there, and we should be groovy for a while. and then this is kind of how it sounds with it spinning. So it's definitely fully broken in and real smooth, and that's with the two shims in there. I might take that 0.1 out just to see how it would run, but yeah, that's it. So good indicator if your bearings are still good is by just wiggling your flywheel back and forth. If there's play, most likely your bearings need to be replaced. And if you don't have any tuning issues and you do have slight play, well, you're going to be seeing some issues at some point in the near future. So ordering bearings would be a smart idea. But yep, that's it.